Welcome back to Lab 2. In Lab 2, we are going to build a VPC and launch a web server in that VPC. As you can see here, the VPC structure is going to be as follows. It's going to be a VPC with 2 public subnet and 2 private subnets. So let us go now to the management console and we will create it. So the first thing I need to go is to a VPC here, to the VPC console, and from the VPC console I could go to the VPC wizard, launch a VPC wizard, and it will give me 4 options. I am interested in a VPC with public and a private subnet, so I'm selecting that. I will call this lab. Now this VPC is going to be in the first availability zone. The first subnet is going to be called public subnet 1, and the private subnet is going to be in the private subnet as well and in the first availability zone. Also, the private subnet 1 will be in the first availability zone. I'm going now to allocate an elastic IP. Now, if you don't have an elastic IP, once you click here, what you could do is to go back to the VPC console and create a new elastic IP, and you allocate it to your VPC because this will be used by the NAT gateway. Then we make sure to enable DNS host names because this is enable us once we launch an EC2 in that VPC, it will take a public IP and also it will take a public DNS name. Click on create VPC. Normally the wizard will take a few minutes to finish. So the VPC creation now is completed and finished. So the next step is to go and create. So we are going to create a subnet, 2 of them. We select lab VPC and we call the first subnet public subnet 2. It will be in the second availability zone. And as you know, from the lab sheet, it's going to be with the IP 10.0.2.0/24. So this is going to be 10.0.2.0/24. And we click on a create. We go again and we create our second subnet and we select lab VPC. It's going to be private subnet and this is 2 in the second availability zone. And if you go back to the lab sheet, it's going to be 10.0.3.0. 10.0.3.0/24 and now create a subnet. The next step is to link that with our route table. You know from the previous classes that a lab VPC will have 2 private route tables. The first route table is going to be with main equal yes, and this is basically our main route table for this VPC. If you go to that route table and you select the routes tab, you will find that there is a destination 10.0.0/16 going to target local, which means any communication inside the VPC will go to the local link. And any other IP, it needs to go to the NAT. The NAT, guys, is the NAT gateway. The NAT gateway, it will enable our private resources in our private subnet to get access to the internet, but they will not be accessible from the internet. Now, if you select the route table with main equal no, and you check the routes, you will find it take us to the same destination via link local. But for any other IP, it will go to the IGW, which is the Internet Gateway. This is what will take our resources to the internet and also enable any end user to access our resources from the internet. Let's go to the route table again, select the one with main equal no, edit the name, click on this little icon here and put the name public route table. Click save. Now go to the subnet association, edit the subnet associations and select public subnet 2. Click save. Then now go to the second route table with main equal yes, and you can make sure by expanding this column here that you are working on the lab VPC. You are not working on other VPC like the default one or the work VPC. If you have other VPCs, you need to be careful. call this route table our private route table. Click save. And now go to the subnet association, edit, and you will link with the private route table our private subnet. And you can verify that you did the right step by going to this column here and click on this link. It will display the subnets associated with each route table. As you can see here, it seems to be all good. We link the private subnet with the private route table, the public subnet with the public route table. The next step is to go to the EC2 and we launch a web server. So let us go, click launch, select the Linux AMI of Amazon, T2 Micro. Now, from here, we want to place this in the lab VPC, in the public subnet 2, and we need to make sure that auto-assign public IP is enabled, because this will allow our EC2 instance to get an IP address, and that IP address, we will use it to access the website that we are going to put in this machine. We put a script in the user data, and that script is basically will be used mainly to launch the web server. It's a demo lab application that we will use mainly to test our work in every single lab. So this will install Apache with PHP, install MySQL, and it will download this file here, which is the lab-app. It's a demo application, and we will put it in /var/www/html, and then we turn on the Apache and we make sure it will be auto start once we restart the machine. And now we can add storage, add tag, give it name, web server. Now in the security group, we are going to open port 80 because this is a web security group, and we keep the SSH. If you want to keep the SSH link, later on we will use it to access the EC2 instance. And now we select HTTP, and the source of the traffic will be anywhere, review and launch. We will wait for this web server to be fully running. So it is initializing now. So we need to wait for a few minutes for this web server to become available. You could refresh as well from this icon. However, you can select it now, and from the details, you can copy the public IP address, copy it, open it in a new tab, and paste it. And this is like the demo application. This is everything we need to do to finish Lab 2 successfully. Thank you for seeing this video, and see you in the next one.